Dumont Owen. I'm a certified master personal brand strategist and a certified digital brand strategist. I'm also an executive and leadership coach, a career coach, and let's see. Oh, I'm certified. No, I think there's one more in there someplace. I'm not sure what it is. But anyway, I know my stuff when it comes to branding and when it comes to LinkedIn. And if you keep current with LinkedIn, and I certainly hope you are, you know that if you're looking for business, if you're looking for business partners or potential clients, you must be on LinkedIn. And here's why. 80% of business-to-business leads that come from social media come from LinkedIn. Now think about that a minute. That's 1 out of every 5 leads. And it doesn't just work for business to business. It works for business to client or customer too. There just aren't a lot of statistics out there, but I've seen it work time and time again. If your clients are on LinkedIn, then you need to be on LinkedIn. If you're a career coach and your specialty is career transitions, you need to be on LinkedIn, right? If you're an executive or leadership coach, you need to be on LinkedIn because that's where your clients are. Now, LinkedIn tells us that one of the 4 ways to promote social selling or to land more clients, get more clients on LinkedIn is by developing a powerful personal brand. So today I'm going to spend some time on what makes a powerful brand, how you figure out what your powerful brand is, and then some links that will help you get that up and running. Okay? So again, my name is Dumont Owen. I'm a master personal and digital brand strategist, and my specialty is helping coaches, consultants, and other service providers get found on LinkedIn and get more clients in record time. Now, I started talking before about why you should be on LinkedIn. Let me give you another reason. You know, if you're looking for, and I certainly hope you are, if you are looking for clients on LinkedIn, you know, you're going to have to be able to promote your brand and to understand your brand. And you're also going to want to promote your brand to people who can afford your services, right? So another reason for being on LinkedIn is that LinkedIn users are more affluent than those on the other platforms. Let me say that again. LinkedIn users are more affluent than those on other platforms. And that means that they can afford your services and your programs. And that's a big deal, isn't it? Because as small business owners, we really need to be able to do that. So that's another reason to be on LinkedIn. So let's get started. How to build your brand in bits and bytes. And by that, I mean how to build a powerful personal brand and promote it on LinkedIn so that you'll attract your ideal clients and customers. First of all, I'm going to give you an overview of the entire personal branding process. Then we're going to look at exactly what a personal brand is. Hard to build one if you don't know what it is, right? And then I'm going to show you how to build your brand in 3 steps. And don't forget, at the end, I'm going to give you a link to my personal branding toolkit, which has free tools that you can use to look. So I don't want you to think you only have one choice. And if you're concerned, if you don't know, what would be best for you, the best way for you to look at your personal and digital brand, you can email me at Dumont, that's DUMONT, at DumontOwen.com. Here, let's first look at the process. Okay, I think it helps, first of all, to define a brand, right? Because a brand is not the same as a commodity. And I think a lot of us get confused by that. So when we talk about a personal brand, what we're really talking about is a unique promise of value. Now, what do I mean by that? Hold on just a second. Oh, I'm going to go back a second. Okay, so it's unique because it's only you. You are the only person with this brand in the world. I mean, hold up your hands and look here. We all have different fingerprints. Nobody else in the world has your fingerprint, or I hope not, because mine gets me into my Mac Pro. So if you have my fingerprint, please don't use it on my Mac Pro. Okay, so it's also unique because it is totally authentic. Your brand is a total visualization of you as a person who is the same in every setting. You're the same in business as you are at the church picnic, as you are at your little league or your son's little league or your daughter's soccer practice, right? Or mom's concert. So any of those, you have a unique presence in the world. So that your brand is all about being authentic. Because when you think about it, there's a whole lot of inauthenticity out there. Okay, secondly, your brand is unique because it differentiates you. It's different from anybody else in your space. So your brand is your differentiator. For instance, I said one of my differentiators is my sense of humor. I misspoke there. I apologize. Promise is about authenticity. And as I said, it's the same brand. You are the same brand, the same authentic person everywhere you show up. The same values, the same interests, the same passions and vision, all of that is authentic to you. And then finally, your brand is all about value. And here I want to take a minute to talk about value because, if you're anything like me, you're probably getting a lot of spam on LinkedIn. And here's what I want you to understand about spam. Spam is all about value because value is only valuable if it's relevant to the problems and challenges the person has who's receiving it, right? So if you are sending out an offer for a free logo assessor, okay? This is something that will look at your logo and give you feedback. Then that you're going to present that value is not going to be of value to anybody who doesn't want that, right? So one of the ways that we deal with that is by asking someone if they would like it. Then they can write back, yeah, I'd love that. And you can give them the opt-in link where they can opt in and hopefully give you their email signature. Not always, and that's okay too. In fact, one of the ways that I offer value is by promoting my newsletter, my LinkedIn newsletter that they don't have to opt into. They only have to be on LinkedIn. Well, they have to hit the subscribe button, but they don't have to give me their email. And I like that because I like to have some places where I'm easily accessible. Okay. All right, let's talk for just a minute about the history of personal branding. Now, I first heard about personal branding in I'm winging it a little bit here. Nope, it is 1997. Now, I was in my class, in one of my classes in my doctoral program, when the professor came in and he had a whole stack of Fast Company, and he was passing, just throwing them at us, really. And he said, you need to know this. And he spent the whole class talking to us about how important branding is. Now, this was, my PhD is in higher education, and this class was about community colleges. And I was really interested in working for a community college, but one of the things he told me was that in order to be seen as someone who could work at a community college or who would be interested with the community college, I had to have some experience with community colleges. I had to build my brand in that area. And so that's what I did. And eventually I worked for a community college for a while. I ended up at a 4-year institution, but that was just because it was a great offer and I was going to be doing something that I truly loved. But during this process of getting my PhD and everything and going to work for first a community college, then a university, I found out something very important about myself. While my brand was that I was a personal branding and career development strategist and higher education strategist. That's what it was all about, strategist. I really didn't want to do that. Everything about my brand said higher education administration. I love coaching. I love teaching. I love counseling. I love anything that has to do with interacting with other people. But you know what I hate? Administration. I don't have the right skills. And so the whole time I was doing that, I felt like a fish out of water. And I felt really bad about myself because my brand was inconsistent with who I was really really am. It didn't reflect my values, which are more around teaching and coaching and counseling. That's who I am at my core. So I had a mismatch between my brand and my abilities. Only when I became clear, only when I started learning about personal branding, did I learn about this. Because when I left higher ed, I started out as a career development coach because I always worked in career development centers. But when I decided to open my own practice, I realized that I didn't know anything about marketing. I didn't know anything about branding. And quite frankly, I was in trouble. I didn't have a sustainable business model. And unfortunately, I ended up having to close my business, which is one of the reasons that I'm so passionate about what I'm doing here, because I don't want any of you to have to go through that. Okay, let's keep going. All right, let's talk about branding from the point of view of, what appeals, what makes a brand strong. And I think if you look at the screen, you're going to see some brands that you might have a really strong reaction to. If you're not a smoker, if you don't approve of smoking, or if you have a relative who encountered lung cancer or heart problems because of smoking, you're probably going to have a very strong reaction to that Marlboro brand. And particularly because that brand was always marketed as kind of a rugged, he-men smoke Marlboro cigarettes. So that can create very strong negative reactions. Now, if you're an Apple user, if you use Mac or if you use Microsoft, you might have different responses to those as far as the platforms you use. Also, if you use, let's look at these two. These are two of my favorites, and I don't have one of them in here, but let's talk about Coca-Cola, because you are either, well, this is my experience, you are either a Coke person or a Pepsi person. And if you take a Coke person and you put them someplace where all they can get is Pepsi, they don't like that very much. And you know how I know this? Because my husband is like that. So a strong brand creates emotion. Okay, so when we look at the difference here, there's a difference between a commodity and a brand. A commodity is coffee. And that if you walk into the local grocery store and you're looking for coffee, you can find it, in Big Ben's like you see it here, or you can find it with a brand on it, right? You can now get Starbucks brand coffee in your grocery store. So what does the Starbucks brand say to us? Well, it has a very strong ecological message, doesn't it? Environmental message about who they are. It comes out of a part of the country that's very much associated with that. And when Starbucks started, they had a very different brand than they do right now. It was more of the place where you went to grab that coffee, but maybe make a good business encounter too. So there's a difference between a brand and a commodity. So here's my question. Which one do you pay more for? How many think you pay more for generic? Not many, huh? How many think you pay more for Starbucks? Okay, maybe I'm the only one who thinks that. I don't know, but that's my thought. Hold on just a second. I want to just, oh my gosh, hey everyone. Um, Charlene, hey. Um, and let's see. Okay. Oh, cool. Very cool. Listen, guys, I'm going to go back and keep presenting, but I am so excited because Charlene Brown is on here and she's going to be joining us later. So I'm very excited to see her on the call, and I can't wait, Charlene, for your presentation because I know it is just going to be fabulous. So let's keep going with this. Now, okay. So I'm going to talk to you very quickly about a process that you can use. It's called the Reach 1, 2, 3 Success Process. And I use this process a lot with my clients, not necessarily in one particular order, but they are all part of the system that I use. So the first part of defining or of building a personal brand is what we call extract. That's where we gather all the information that relates to your personal brand. And we're going to talk a little bit more about that in a moment. You also, once we have all the information about your brand and you are really clear on what that brand is, then you want to express it. And we're going to be talking a lot on this summit about how to express your personal brand. And then finally, there's exude, and that means aligning your personal brand with what's in your brand environment. So keep watching because we're going to really talk about this a little bit more. Okay, so what I always tell people about branding is that you want to be yourself in 3 dimensions, in life, in work, and in the world. So when you build a brand, not only does it have to be authentic. Remember I said you'll be the same person everywhere you go? I mean, you don't have different values if you're at a football game than if you're at a band concert, do you? Well, maybe you do. I don't know. Most people don't. So I want you to think about this as who you are and how you show up, because generally the way we show up is as our brand. It's the way we show up in all avenues in our lives. Okay, so the first part is extract. And we just talked about what your brand is, but very quickly, I just want to go over this really fast. We said your brand is unique. That means it's unique in terms of all your peers and all the other people who provide the same services and operate in the same universe that you do. So those may be all of your competitors, okay, on LinkedIn or on Facebook or on Google, whoever your competitors are. Now, your promise is what makes your brand authentic. That's who you are always. And it's authentic because you also are authentic about your promise. When you promise something, you deliver on it. And then finally, value. And if you'll recall, I talked a little bit about that. Saying value is very much attached to relevance, how relevant you are to your target audience. Okay, so what's your promise? That's about authenticity. Remember, it's your unique promise of value. So your promise is all about who you are authentically. And in order to understand your promise or your brand, you want to look at it from an internal perspective and to gather external perceptions. And that's because our brand isn't known only to us. Our brand is also held in the hearts and minds of those people who know us. So we want to get their feedback too. Now, when we're talking about introspection or, that looking inward, there are a number of things we want to look at, and I don't have them all listed out here. but we want to look at your goals. We want to look at your values and passions, and we want to look at your strengths and skills. We also, with goals, we want to get clear on your brand or on your niche, right? Because if there's one thing we know, especially on LinkedIn, it's that you can't be all things to all people. So you really want to take a really hard look at your goals, at your vision, at your values, at your commitments, and at your niche. What are the problems that they're confronting? Because your entire brand is built to reach out to that niche. Well, not your entire brand, but it is built in order to serve that niche. Okay, so looking at your values and passions. And I give you all of this in the personal branding toolkit. You're going to want to first identify your top 5 values. Next, you're going to want to identify your top 3 passions. And those are the same as we often call those interests. Next, we're going to look at what people think of you. One way to do that is through a personal branding survey. And a lot of my clients do choose to do this. It's really great because first you look inward and you can really get a very clear idea of how you look at what you consider your strengths, your values, your passions, your vision, all of those things. And then it's sent out to about 35 people or up to 35 people who know you well enough to be able to comment on that, but it also allows them to respond anonymously. So you're going to get responses that are classified by, a colleague or a family member or a friend or something like that. So it gives you a good idea of not only who has had that feedback, but why they're saying that. It's a really great instrument. And it's perfect if you are active enough to have, say, 15 to 30 people who can provide you with that feedback. Because in order to get the survey interpreted, there are video coaching modules that go with this. Plus, whenever you do a personal branding survey through me, you also get a session with me to clarify your survey. So that you can all do, and I will give you that link. But that's not your only option. Oh, and you have to get at least 10 responses in order for it to produce a report. So that's one thing you have to think about. Okay, another one is your strengths and skills. What are your superpowers? And in what I'm giving you at the end in that personal branding kit, there are things to assist you in doing that. Now also, what makes you compelling? What is the value that you're offering that nobody else is offering? And how is that important? You must be really, really clear on your focus, really, really clear on your target audience or your niche so that you can focus your strategy. Because your niche, let me go back to that in just for a second. Your target audience and your niche are two different things. I want you to understand that. Your target audience can be something as broad as professional trainers and coaches, or consultants, or graphic designers. So it can be fairly broad. But when you really, really want to clarify your niche, that's when you're going to build a customer avatar. And I am going to later on give you the links for that. That will be later on today. So be sure and keep an eye out for that in the chat. You will also get links to all of the free gifts being offered by our presenters during this presentation, and also we'll make sure you get them at the end. Okay, so what makes you unique? Now, this is what I was talking about before. This is what differentiates you from your competitors. Okay, so I have a weird sense of humor. I find it actually delightful. But then I'm me, right? So in order to understand what makes you unique, you want to look at what your competitors have in common and then how you're different. Maybe you offer a different kind of program. Okay, maybe you promote them differently. Maybe your style of interaction is different, or your delivery model is different. So you need to know how you're alike with those other people, but you also want to know what makes you different, because that's your brand. Okay, you have to know how you are different than others, because remember what I said. People don't buy from you because you're the best. I know you're the best, okay? I'm not saying that, but people don't buy from you because you're the best. They buy from you because you're different. They're kind of different. Okay. Okay, so in your personal brand kit that I'm going to give to you in a while, there is a place for you to create your personal brand statement. What I'm giving you here is just a template, okay? Do not feel that you have to stick to this. I'm giving you this as just something to start with, because what I want you to be sure to include in your personal brand statement is I want you to cite some of your, or at least one or two of your strengths, and then I want you to tell what it is that you do and who you do it for. So, and the results. So I could say, I use my knowledge of personal and digital branding to build powerful personal brands for coaches and clients. Or I could say, I support coaches and, or I said coaches and clients, for coaches and consultants. Or I could say, I help coaches and consultants get more clients in record time, or get more clients in record time by helping them build personal brands and promote them on LinkedIn. Or I could say, leveraging my extensive knowledge of personal branding and LinkedIn, I deliver more clients in less time to coaches and consultants. So 3 different versions. What I want you to do, come on, raise your hand, promise me you're going to do this. I want you today to develop your personal, I want you to get off this, when you finish, I want you to write out 10 versions of your personal brand statement. And here's why. Because tomorrow I'm going to ask you to post one, or even more than one, in the chat, so that we can give you feedback and ask questions about your personal brand. So that's why I want you to do this right now. Excuse me. Okay, there's just a few rules about your personal brand statement. 1, it has to be only 1 sentence long. Okay? Only 1 sentence long. Because, well, we'll get to that in a minute. It has to be easily understood by a 12-year-old. I'd go further than that. I think if you have an astute 7th grade, or that would be a 12-year-old. If you have an astute cousin or nephew or kid that lives next door, practice this with them. If they have to say what, or explain that, or how, excuse me, then your brand isn't clear enough. They should be able to hear your brand and say back to you what it is, okay, what you do. And if they can't, then you know it's not clear enough. Okay, and then finally, you have to be able to say it from memory. How long can it be, right? You have to be able to say it from memory. Okay, so I'm just going to give you a couple of examples here, because I'm going to, I want to make sure that we have time to prepare for the next speaker. But here are a couple of examples. Through my natural enthusiasm and my empathy for others, I inspire R&D professionals to develop innovative products in technology. Now, this came from the 360 Reach. You get you get responses from people about what they see as your most marketable brands. This person was told that they had empathy, that they were leader-like, that they were creative, and they had a lot of energy, right? So when you look at the statement, high level of energy, natural enthusiasm, right? Empathy for others. She describes it. She tells you exactly who she helps, and she tells you what happens because of it. They produce innovative products. Okay, that's really cool. So let's look at another one here. Okay, in this one, the marketable attributes that were defined by the survey were that she's calming, philanthropic, forward thinking, and caring. And I absolutely love this one. I deliver Zen-like webinars and online learning programs to stressed out, overworked police officers, firemen, and EMT workers to help them identify, manage, and reduce stress. How cool is that, huh? So, does that say calming? Zen-like says calm to me. Philanthropic. You know, she's delivering this to overworked police officers. You know, our emergency people. You know, the ones that we really need. She's forward thinking. You know, she's delivering these learning programs, and she also cares. So all of those come out in that brand. Okay, I'm going to skip this one because I want to make sure that we have enough time to go through this last part. So, how do you manage your brand environment? Remember I told you that we had yeah, hold on, where did it go? Okay, well, there are three parts. There's extract, which is what we were just talking about, measuring or understanding your brand. There's express, and that's all about content marketing and all other kinds of marketing on LinkedIn. That can involve creator mode, which lets you do LinkedIn Lives. It lets you do a newspaper, a podcast, but there are lots of opportunities. And I want you to think about aligning your brand environment with what people are seeing. So I don't know if you can look at mine and say, oh, she's probably got a snarky sense of humor. But hopefully you see someone who cares a lot and who is really into education and understanding. I think all of those may be reflected in my background. So let's talk real carefully. I am going to give you a copy of this link too. This is called What Color is Your Brand? And your brand colors stand for different things. Okay, let me just show you real quick. Yeah, here we go. Okay, so with red, and red is one of my brand colors. You're determined, you're passionate, you're powerful, you have a lot of energy, you come on with all that. So red denotes passion, courage to stand up, determination, and all of those are part of my brand. Okay, orange. Orange looks at your determination, or not your determination, yeah, your determination. And orange is encouraging. It displays strength, productivity. And you know something? In the United States, orange is not one of our favorite colors. Well, unless you live in Cleveland like me, because we have a football team who has those colors. But you know what country loves orange? France. So just keep that in mind. Then yellow. Yellow, just think of sunshine, positive, optimism. Yellow people keep the world going. Green, when I was growing up, all of the walls in the schools were painted green, and they had green chalkboards. Well, I think maybe originally they were, I don't know what color chalkboards were eventually, but when I was in school, they were green. And the reason was because either correctly or incorrectly, people thought green was calming. I don't know, I taught 7th grade for a while. I didn't see that it calmed my students at all. But, may just be me. The next one is blue, and that is my color because people say that they can trust me to give the right information. I keep my promises. I deliver what I say I'll deliver. I tell the truth. And I have a certain amount of authority because of my knowledge. And then finally, there's purple, which is one of my favorites. It's unfortunately not one of my brand colors, but that stands for spirituality and inspiration, dignity. And there's one person from the United States that is often associated with purple. So this is Dumont Owen saying, ta-ta for now.